Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another inclusion on the Errors and Inconsistencies series, Part 22. Now this is a series where we get to take a look at all the mistakes and inconsistent things across the Disney and Pixar Cars merchandise line, for the most part being in regards to the Mattel Diecast line. Now Mattel has been making diecasts for Disney Pixar Cars ever since 2006, and there have been numerous errors to date, and there are still errors being made today, which we will also be diving into a lot of those new ones and some old ones within this video. So without further ado, let's get started. In 2024, Mattel introduced a brand new Transcontinental Race of Champions series of diecast, a part of the main line, being the Global Racers Cup. Now, these guys, very, very nice. They're now going to be delved into the main line instead of being sold separately, a part of it, like they used to back in 2016, 15, 14, all those different years. Now, Mattel has already gone so far as to add them into the Mini Racers line as well, and we've gotten numerous of the 10-packs, 3-packs, and single Mini Racer releases for the GRC characters. And classic Mattel, there has already been an error made. Now, on one of the 10-pack releases of the Global Racers Cup, you can see there's a bunch of the Global Racer characters and their Mini Racer counterparts, all looking very nice, all well that seems well, except on the back of the packaging, they switched up the names of Raoul Sarul and Max Chanel. As you can see, Max Chanel is now named Raoul Sarul, and then Raoul Sarul is now named Max Chanel. Back in 2010, a part of the Final Lap Collection diecast line, Mattel released for the first time ever Coriander White Track. She was a great release overall, except for the fact that she was too big. That this was inconsistent to the movies at the time, but thankfully in 2016, Mattel corrected her down to her appropriate size that was more accurate to the films, and is basically considered a inconsistent and error fix / correction on her diecast. As you can see by the picture on the screen, the original was much larger and definitely didn't seem right to scale compared to the diecast of M.A. Breakdrum and Break Boyd, who were released a few years later. But the size was definitely too big and very noticeable, but when they re-released her in 2016, her size was corrected and became an accurate diecast. With Easter right around the corner, Mattel introduced us to a brand new holiday lineup of vehicles, being the Easter Cars, which expands upon the original 2017/2021 releases. In this new set of 6 Easter Cars, we got Thailand variants for all of the original China counterparts, and of course a brand new release in Easter Flow, but there's already some inconsistency with one of the Easter diecasts, being the Easter Lightning McQueen. As you can see, the original Easter Lightning McQueen, featuring all the paint splatter and whatnot, had its own unique expression. You can see his eyes were a little more down, and he had a nice little smiling expression that just showed all the white of the teeth. But in the 2024 Thailand variant, he just reuses the expression of a regular old Lightning McQueen, having a dead straight look and a regular mouth that you would always see on a Lightning McQueen. Now this, inconsistent with the diecast, and in my eyes, quite a lazy diecast version of this guy. Although a great Thailand variant, one definitely needed, Mattel could have easily went on and made a brand new mold to give him the same old expression, or even a brand new one at that. In 2010, a part of the Toons lineup of vehicles, Mattel released Dragon Lightning McQueen with metallic finish, which also came with a nice collector's guide for 2010. Now, this version of Dragon Lightning McQueen was an excellent release. A very, very perfect car, great metallic finish, great expression, all that good stuff, except for the fact that he was mislabeled. This version of Dragon Lightning McQueen actually happens to be metallic finish Dragon Lightning McQueen with oil stains. That's right, the metallic version of this Lightning McQueen, the Dragon Lightning McQueen, had the oil stains, which he already did have his oil stain release in the non-metallic counterpart, but Mattel had mislabeled him as just being a regular Dragon Lightning McQueen with metallic finish. On the same suit of Lightning McQueen's, for years, the release of Cactus Lightning McQueen has always had one single specific detail missed on his diecast, which was the Rusty's logo on his spoiler. This was an error on Mattel's part, and it continued to be inconsistent between all releases of his diecast ever since 2007. But in 2024, with his first ever Thailand release, Mattel had fixed this error and finally included the Rusty's logo on the spoiler alongside all of the other Cactus pieces. Now this is a really, really good error fix and correction, and definitely a welcome one at that. Following the suit of 2024 Thailand variants, Mattel also decided to bring back Mater with Sign into the mix of Thailand re-releases this year. An excellent diecast release and quite a great return for a diecast character, but the issue is that his entire back portion of his diecast continues to be plastic. Now, the original China counterpart of this Mater and every other Mater before all had plastic back sides of their diecast. But ever since Mattel switched over to making cars from Thailand, every single one, including Mater and any other diecast character, had a full metal body for the most part. And it was a shocking surprise to see that this Thailand variant of Mater continued to stay plastic on the back side. Although not a favorable outcome in the eyes of some collectors, there is actually quite a good reason to why Mattel most likely did this, and that is for the maneuverability and the placement of the sign on the backside of his diecast. Having to deal with a unique mold and having a hole in the backside with a full metal body just may have seemed a little more troublesome for Mattel, even though they had done it many times before then. It must have just been a more simple route for this diecast, and it would just make it easier overall for the sign to be rotated. The Dynaco teams of Piston Cup diecast includes the notable Strip Weathers, aka the King, but it also includes members of his pit crew such as Roger Wheeler and Luke Pedalwork. Both are amazing pit crew releases, along the small handful that Mattel has actually made ever since the diecast line became a thing. But in 2018, with the Dynaco Pit Crew 2-pack release, they had mislabeled them. Now, Roger Wheeler, for the first time, had been named on this 2-pack, which was a great fix for him, as he was previously just known as the Dynaco Crew Chief. But when Mattel fixes one error, they essentially always make up another one, which happened with this 2-pack as they named Luke Pedalwork and labeled him as Dynaco Pity. He has had his name ever since his 2008 release, and just so coincidentally, in his 2018 release, Mattel had just renamed him as Dynaco Pity instead of using his actual name of Luke Pedalwork, which is an error on Mattel's part. Ever since his first release in 2008, Chuck Armstrong has had the wrong colored rims for his tires. Alongside numerous other Piston Cup racers with tire issues, his has never been fixed by Mattel over the entire span of the diecast line. But weirdly enough, the rarest release and variant of Chuck Armstrong, Race Damage Mood Springs, had the accurate blue colored rims. A strange inconsistency between the diecast, seeing how the regular one that could easily have a fixed rim tire never did, and then the rarest release a part of the Final Life collection just so happened to have the accurate blue tires for his diecast. Back in 2009, Mattel released all of the impounded variant diecast of Lightning McQueen and all of the tuners. The diecast of DJ, Boost, and Wingo, who were all chase vehicles, all had the impound boot on the front left tire of their diecast. But when it came to Snotrod, his impound boot was on the front right tire. Now, this was an inconsistency between all the tuner variants with their impound boots, as all of them had it on the left, and then all of a sudden, Snotrod had his on the right. Now, we say that this is an inconsistency, but it is actually, in fact, accurate to the film, which kind of shows good attention to detail on Mattel's part, even though they make errors like this all the time. The Mini Adventures line of 2008, 9, and 10 was the original Mini Racers set of releases. This nostalgic line had a spew of unique variants of characters that were never seen in the films and had undoubtedly some of the greatest releases adjacent to the 1/55 scale diecast line. But in one particular pack, being the Mini Adventures Radiator Springs Speed Trap set, they released Spin Out Lightning McQueen as a mini adventure diecast. All well that seems well, until you notice that the Mini Adventure McQueen, Spin Out Lightning McQueen, is missing every other detail that his 1/55 scale counterpart had besides the tires on his eyes and the screaming expression. He is missing all of the wire and he is missing the wood pieces from the fence, which is just very inaccurate and an error on Mattel's part for this Mini Adventure release. Now, of course, this is possibly due to the size and the McQueen not being able to fit all of the accurate pieces onto the diecast, which we have seen Mattel do quite a few times for the Mini Adventures line and possibly some other Mini Racers line diecast characters too. But again, this is just an inaccurate and inconsistency to the actual film. Well, that concludes part 22 of the Errors and Inconsistencies video series on the T Toy Reviews Thai channel. We hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Let us know what you guys think of the mistakes and inconsistencies seen throughout this video, and possible ones that you guys may have not seen throughout this series on the channel. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next videos.